Those of you who have joined and can hear me, can you please put in your names and roll number and stream in the chat box, please? Okay. While the others come in. Ideally, I mean, in your holiday list, as one of you sent me, today and tomorrow are holidays for you. But because the government has shifted the 2 days to 10th and 11th, today you have a class, and tomorrow and day after tomorrow you have no classes. They are holidays for you. I need to check up on your holiday list also. All right. The BAC students who have joined, is there anybody new who has joined? And if you have any problems, any questions regarding what we have been doing so far, if you've seen the slides, please feel free to ask me, or you can ask me after my class, after our class is over, maybe 10 minutes time. Then I'll finish the class a little early, and then you can ask your questions or clarify doubts. And those of you who have joined, please put in your names and roll numbers and stream in the chat box. Alright, so that I can make a note of it. Okay, shall I begin? Quite a few, 24 of us are already there. So shall we begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In the last class, we were talking about how certain values can shape human beings, and we moved on to the types of values, and from there we started talking about. So we talked about individual or personal values, or you can call them as individual core values. We talked about them, and then we moved on to talking about organizational values, and that is where I gave you a small task and I asked you to find out the vision and mission of certain organizations, and how it is useful to them, like why, how the vision and mission of an organization can play a role in their value addition in terms of the running or the goodwill of the organization. All right, so some of you, I'm sure most of you have worked on this. So before I move on, okay, I will move on to my slide now. If anybody comes in and I'm not being able to see, please let me know. I will go and admit them in the class. Okay. Now, let me go to the slide. Then we can discuss what we wanted to talk in the 1 minute. Did someone try to join? Okay, show. Okay, many of you don't have access to the video and all that, so you put your views on the chat box, and I often miss out on those. So that is Shobik Chatterjee, who is saying that for a company, vision remain in business, mission to generate healthy profits in every quarter. So I didn't get exactly what you're trying to say here, Shobik. Vision meaning uh, vision of which company is this? Is this a general point that you have noted that wait, there are so many of them who want to join the class, three of them actually. Okay. For a company, the which company is it? This you're talking in, I think you put it up in general. Company is to remain in business, okay, and they can fulfill their vision with the help of their mission. And that is generally the point is they want to generate healthy profits in every quarter. Okay, so it is about being productive, it is about generating good profits. Okay, is there anybody else who can add on to this point? um, the vision of every company is to remain in business to earn goodwill of the organization through their through the people who are there, who are existing in the organization, and also, establishing a good rapport with their customers or clients. Okay, uh, that is how their vision gets fulfilled. And the mission, or the vision mission go together. Sometimes the two terms seem to be overlapping. The mission is how you're going to get your vision in practice, how you're going to practically do it, and why you have to do it. So the mission is to generate healthy profits, all right, to establish good relationship with your customers, all right. Only then you can remain in business, okay. And also establishing the goodwill of the organization through the products that you create and your relationship with your customers and clients. Okay, so those of you, I'll just go to the slide and then just let me know if you can see the slide when I show it. Okay, can you see it? Can you see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my point, my business, my bullet point on the slide also has is similar to what you have said. So can some of you just see, we talked about growth, revenue, profit, creation of shareholders. All these things are all there. Now, can you tell me? Uh, can some of you just share with me what you found out, which organizations you found out? This was your assignment. So can you quickly tell me which organizations some of you served, found out, and what was their vision and mission? Can some of you please share it with me and the class? Actually, not with me, for the class. Will I have to start calling out names, or will you come out on your own? Which is better? Call out names? Alright, there are so many of you here. I see Shobik has written something. Then Orko is there. Orko just joined. What about the others? You didn't do the assignment? You didn't find out? Okay, there are so many of you, 27 of you. Tuhin is there. Arijit is there. Shorodeep is there. Okay, I am just calling out names. Will I have to call you out individually now? Who will start? Any organization, division and mission? Yes, Swastik.
Ma'am, I was searching for Instagram company and their mission and vision, and their mission statement was to capture and share the world's moments.
All right. Okay. Then vision and mission, and how do they plan? A little more about how they plan to, or how, why, and how they they would like to implement or fulfill this vision and mission. Any
Uh,
idea?
they they make their interface of their application very user friendly. Anyone can easily use it, and they have many filters which can be used to make your photos better, and you can share them easily
Okay.
with everyone.
So that is how they are relating to their customers. And you know what? Just tell me one thing. See, you people will know about this better than I do. Since you took up this example, um, how do they actually profit from this? How do they benefit from it? What do they get out of this? See, I would like to have good pictures and all that. I put it up, I get a lot of likes and whatever it is. But how will the company profit from this? This is my, my personal question. I have no idea about it. That's why I'm not on Instagram, so I'm just asking you. See, Facebook, I
social
know.
media
Yeah.
Social media is earns basically from advertisements. They generate targeted audience and show me the things. That means targeted advertising.
That means whatever I want to see when I surf, they capture the information and then they start
Yes,
showing
yes,
me
yes,
things that I like, products that I like.
yes.
This is
They
this.
they have lots of data about the users, and they know the which thing the users prefers or they like, and according to those, they show us the advertisements.
Is it
And
similar to Facebook then?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, because I don't use Instagram, so I don't know. So that means Instagram is also using um, public information, their likes and dislikes, creating a database, and then trying to capture the market through the preferences that their audiences are showing. Right? That is what you're trying to say. Okay. So, did you check up on any of the activities that they do for public after they have, earned their revenues in any way? That what kind of activities they do for public? The what is that I talked to you in the last class? The CSR activity, corporate social responsibility. How do they share their profits or do any kind of good deeds for society? Could you find out anything about that?
Ma'am, there are none.
Acha.
Case of Facebook.
Okay, so there are none. So these people don't do any kind of activity for society except whatever they do right away interface, whatever is happening. All right. Others, any other company or organization that you found out? All right. Okay. All right. Okay, so they're making money out of it because Netflix is showing films. I mean, what I see, even I'm not on Netflix also. So, how does Netflix actually function? How do they work? How do they get the revenue?
Subscription fees.
For if you want to watch a movie, you have to pay for it and then you can watch the movie.
And you have to take a subscription.
So which means that I don't have to pay per movie, but I pay a subscription, and then how the subscription is valid for a period of time. Is that it? And then I can watch movies during that time. Am I allowed to download those films? Okay, so yeah, okay. So which means suppose you see there are some films and my subscription is just for a few days and I can't watch so many movies. So I want to download them and save them somewhere and watch them later. Is that allowed? Do they encourage that? Oh, offline also you can't do. After you've downloaded also you can't see. Okay, so that's how they're making the money. Means they're trying to hold the market or your audiences by opening up that little window for that period of time for whichever you subscribe. Okay. So theirs is also providing entertainment to public, the stakeholder. We are the stakeholders, the public, and therefore for us it is since this COVID, and that means they've made a lot of money during the COVID lockdown, isn't it? Okay. So, are there any other such organizations also who are doing this? Netflix is not an Indian. Is Netflix an Indian origin company or is it a non? Okay, and that which means what? They show only English movies or any language. Hmm. Okay, but one question is with COVID and lockdowns, how could they generate so many movies? Where did they get so many movies? I mean, did they get any new films? Like, how did they entertain? The old ones people already know we get so much on YouTube. So, what was the stuff? Where did they gather all the new stuff, if there is anything at all? Acha, because I don't know nowadays. You see, I when I open Facebook now and then I see that there are some actors who are acting in some films which are not to be shown on a large screen like we had in Inox and all that. But they're going to be screened through Netflix. So I thought, these films are being shot uh, in some other method, and the film is being edited and compiled together and being shown. That's how the new movies are coming out on Netflix. Because after some time, how will Netflix survive if there are no films coming on? Where are they getting all these films?
Actually, they take licensing fees from others, and they also have a production company kind of thing. So they fund productions actually.
Okay, production of films.
Yes, ma'am. Films, short films, everything.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
every
Acha, now I get it. Okay, so these two we got. One was Instagram, one was Netflix. The others, any other companies that you surfed? Can you just tell me quickly? If you've done it, let me
Ma'am,
know.
BSNL. I searched for BSNL.
Okay. And what did you find, Indrila?
BSNL's BSNL's vision is to become the largest telecom service provider in Asia,
Okay.
and mission is to be the
survive.
uh, survive in the to provide world-class state-of-art technology telecom service to its customer on
Okay.
demand at competitive prices,
Okay.
and
That is how they want to expand their customer base.
uh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. By any chance, did you find out if they do any kind of activities for, you know, for their customers? What kind of services do they provide? In is it like doing service to society by giving at subsidized rates, or certain offers that are clubbed together, and again, cheaper than the other telecom? Is there anything like that? Anything like that you found
Ma'am,
out?
they have quite a few. Ma'am, they have quite a few objectives to increase their subscriber. Like they have national plan target of 500 million subscriber base and broadband services. So they're coming up with new ideas like 5G and 4G so that they be in the service for a
Oh, they
longer
want to
time.
remain in the market, because I know many of us, I
They're
don't know
going
how
with
many.
new objectives and new schemes.
Okay, all right. Has anybody served on any banks by any chance? Any bank, SBI for that matter, or any other private bank? Did any of you find out about banks? And see, the ones that I put up on my slide were like Infosys, Reliance Industries.
Ma'am, banks
Infosys.
have a lot of revenue streams actually. It does not come from a singular source. Like
Okay.
it depends on the bank. There are many types and also.
Okay, but banks are also organizations that are doing service to society, isn't it? That is
Yeah,
also
financial services.
like the telecom industry. They are also doing it. Like I was asking, like I wanted to find out so much of Geo. Has nobody found out about Reliance Industries? What their vision and mission is? I'm very curious to know about their vision and mission. Is it just making money, or what is their vision and mission?
Definitely to make money. It's their primary vision for every company, not just
Yeah,
them.
but you
For
see, with
every
the
company.
Tatas, with the Tatas, what is projected is that their vision and mission is to provide service to society first, then the money. All these organizations want to say that, but I don't know. I get the impression from many of you in the other batches that are done that the Ambanis are out first to make money more than service. So I that's what I wanted to know from you. With the Tatas, no, the projection is like this, that first our mission or vision is, our mission is to give service to society. That is what our mission is, and that
Ma'am,
is why
that is because Tatas are here for a longer time, right? But the Ambanis are here for a shorter duration of time compared to the Tatas. It's been quite a few centuries that Tatas been in business, and therefore
okay.
they have a more ethical work environment and such.
Yeah. Does that mean that only if you're in the market for a long period of time you need to be ethical? When you start your business, does that mean that most of them are
It depends on a
unethical?
lot of regulations. Like when the Tata started out, they didn't have kind of a ethical environment that we see the Tatas today, the ones associated with Tatas today. But
Okay.
back then they had very unethical work environment and such. But today
All
they
right.
are seen as a very ethical and all. It depends on a lot of regulations. Like if in Europe, European nations like France and all, if you open a company or such, you have to you have to give a very ethical and non-toxic work environment, which you don't see here.
Right. Very true.
It depends on a lot of regulations from in part of the state and the government and such.
Okay. And any other company that anybody can talk to us about? See, unless we have a little bit of variety discussion, no, all of you will be writing the same thing in your answer papers, and then your marks get reduced. So I'm just trying to bring out. You can, as I'm talking while the others are talking, also I'm sure you have done your assignments, so you should be able to tell us. Some of them will overlap.
Ma'am,
Yeah. Yes,
I
Ruby.
find a company, there's a pharmaceutical company, Mankind.
All right. Okay. Okay.
So
And what about their vision and mission?
his vision is to be a global pharmaceutical company and most affordably and quality and accessibility product.
Okay.
And mission also same, and low effective medical innovation based on super quality and
Okay.
pharmaceutical product, and that improve the life of the patient.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So Shobik has written something here for Instagram to create a captivating audience base for advertising. Okay. The greater the amount of interaction, the application and users, the greater the reach of these of their advertisements. Okay. Fine. All right. So some of you have discussed, the others are not coming forward, so I can't keep forcing you to do it. So I'll go back to continue with my slide so that we can take a quick break after some time when I finish with this. Okay, so we were talking about different types of values, and we started with in the first slide. First type that we talked about individual core values. All right, we talked about negative and positive values, where I wanted to tell you that values need not always be positive, good. There are negative values also. All right, and I put up examples of that also. And then we talked about business values. Now we will move on to talking about managerial values, which are related to business values. Here the link is like this: if you have good managers with good values, all right, they turn out to be good leaders, and good leaders in turn with their values help in building the values of the organization, and that's how they build the image of the organization. So good managers are very handy or come handy in the establishment of a company. Is that clear? So you will find many heads of various departments or in many employees, all right, who have very strong values, which actually enhance their leadership qualities and also help them take the organization forward. So I just put up two examples like Ratan Tata, Rusi Modi. You might come out with so many others. I put age old because I thought you might know. But are you aware of any other person with good managerial values? If you are aware, then you can just tell me. I mean, somebody with good managerial values will be very loyal, has a good sense of integrity. Integrity meaning being very loyal, truthful, all right, dependable, trustworthy, and has the urge to, entrepreneurship is there to come out with newer things, all right. They are very dynamic, not the static kind who are just the sleepy kinds, very dormant and doing nothing. So generally people with good managerial values are very dynamic, or like very active, very lively, and would like to bring about a lot of changes, look forward to progress, come out from what they are to take things forward. So that is what good managers are like. And the more these people involved in these kind of activities and show their ability to take things forward, the better for the organization. So I have just put two examples here, two people, and they're quite old. Can you think of any other new or latest, you know, people with good managerial values who've taken the organization forward? Are you aware of them? They could be people with, someone who has started off Big Bazaar or whatever it is. Big Bazaar, whatever you have, other chains also. So people with strong managerial qualities. Are you aware of them? Anybody? They could be from banks. Achha, there was this lady, I keep forgetting her name. She was with Coca-Cola. Do you remember her name by any chance? Lady with short hair. She was at Coca-Cola and she took the company forward. Very enthusiastic, very dynamic woman. I forget her
Ma'am,
name.
Indra Nui. Indra
No.
Nui.
Indra Noy. Do you all know her? If you don't know, you can search about her. Okay, very, very, what should I say, active, dynamic, and she's taken Coca-Cola way ahead from what it was. Are you aware of any other such personality? Anybody? Think about these things. Somebody has their the mic open, the volume open, so it's echoing. I can hear my voice.
Okay.
Who's that? All right. So that is about managerial values. Now I'll move on to another category of values, the second type. Uh, I just broke them up like this so that's easy for you to remember. The second type of values that I'm talking about are instrumental and terminal values. Okay, the first type was associated with human beings directly, like personal values and persons becoming businessmen, and how becoming managers, and how they help in fostering their values and taking an organization forward. The second type is also related to human beings, but we are going to see it from a different angle. We are going to talk about instrumental and terminal values. You see, the word terminal itself means something that goes on till the end. End term exam, meaning you have the exam at the end of your semester. So that is the end. When somebody is terminally ill, it means that they've reached the fag end of their life. It's time for them to go. So people with cancer sometimes, or any other such disease, or are not going to survive anymore, we tell them that they're terminally ill. So that is at the end point. And so the terminal values that we are going to talk about is individuals who strive to adopt, nurture, cherish certain values till the end of their life. They will not discard those values for anything. They can be negative or positive values, but they will foster these values in them till their last breath. That is why they're called terminal values. All right. And instrumental values, here the word instrumental means a medium or a method through which some values can be achieved or inculcated in you. Some values that you can develop in you. All right. So instrumental meaning something helps you to develop these values. So I've just put up a list. In my next slide will also have that list. Things like assertiveness. Assertiveness meaning you're very firm, you're very confident. You're not the wobbly and the type that keeps saying yes now, no, then going on shifting between yes and no. Assertiveness meaning you're very firm. You know what it is. That's an instrumental value, and this value can be achieved through some means. All right. So the definition that I put up here is values relate to means for achieving results. You want to achieve something, and for that you adopt certain values. So these values are instrumental in helping you to achieve certain results. The results could be bad, they could be good. All right. For example, let's take up hard work. All right. Now you want to be successful in life, you want material wealth meaning anything like, you know, a house, car, wealth, money, all these things that will give you a good and steady life. All right, a happy life. Now to get that thing, to get that in that result, what do you have to do? You have to be hardworking. So hardworking, therefore, is called an instrumental value. Hard work is a value, and it is instrumental in giving you a good life. By when you work hard, you make a lot of money. You can be prosperous in life. You can get all the luxuries you want in life. So that is possible only because of hard work. Is that clear? So that is why we say hard work is an instrumental value. You talk of dependability. If people can depend on you, they trust you, all right, they have belief in you, they have faith in you. Now this will ultimately result in creating a goodwill for you, creating a good image for you. So to get that, to let people know that you are a positive character, you have a lot of positive values in you, and they can depend on you for that. Dependability itself is a value, all right. And if people can depend on you for anything with their eyes closed, it's a big value that you have. All right, you have achieved this value. You have used this value to achieve something else, something like a good name, goodwill. So dependability is an instrumental value. You have been able to use this as a medium through which you could have got the faith of other people. All right. Now, it's not very easy to trust people. The fact that you are dependable is instrumental in making you trustworthy, and trustworthy is the end result. That is what you wanted to show people, that you are trustworthy, and you can be trustworthy and they can depend on you. So dependability is an instrumental value. The same thing with obedience, open-mindedness, good manner. If all these things are in you, if you want to achieve something, you want to you want to show that you are open to views, you are not close-minded, you can think progressively. Open-mindedness is a value that you should have. Now that will serve as an instrument or a vehicle through which you can show people that you are progressive. Only if you are progressive, people know that you can think in from different angles, all right, and you have different pictures of the same thing, which you can discuss with other people and tell them. Sometimes you can warn people, sometimes you can teach people something, you can educate them, sometimes you can exchange ideas, all right, and tell them how things can be different and how accordingly you can take things forward. So that is why we say that instrumental values are the means to achieve certain results. Okay, and terminal values, as I said, are values that you will cherish in you, nurture in you till your last breath. For example, peace of harmony, satisfaction. Now, to get satisfaction, to remain satisfied with whatever you have till the end of your life. All right, you can achieve that through instrumental values. Terminal values can be achieved through instrumental values. What kind of satisfaction? You're satisfied with the job that you have. You are satisfied with the kind of life that you're living. You're satisfied with the material wealth that you have. All right. You're satisfied with the kind of things that you achieve in life. All right. Be it from people or other sources. So that is satisfaction. You're satisfied with your academic results. All right. How did you and then you get a good job. All right. Now you try to retain this quality in you. All right. So you are satisfied with your results because you worked hard. So you see, hard work is an instrumental value which helps you achieve a terminal value like satisfaction. All right. It gives you pride in accomplishment. You've achieved something. You've got a gold medal, or you've received, or you got an extremely good job because of hard work, because of your obedience, because of your assertiveness. There's so many other things that can go in giving you this pride in achieving some things in life which will last in you. Prosperity meaning money, material wealth, happiness, recognition. All right, if you're good mannered, it can give you recognition. So, which means that terminal values can be achieved through instrumental values. Okay, security and safety in life can come through hard work. I'll give you another list, you will find that out. If I move on to the next list, you will see how instrumental values can help in achieving terminal values. Here in this slide, the order has been flipped. I have put terminal values first and then instrumental. In my previous slide, it was the other way around. So if you want to achieve, let's say, self-respect, all right, which of the values on the right hand side are instrumental in getting you your self-respect? So can somebody quickly tell me? You can pick up 1, 2 of them from instrumental values and say which of the values on the right hand side in the blue box can help you achieve or get self-respect, which is a terminal value, which means self-respect will be there till your last breath, till you die. Which of the values on the right side will help you achieve self-respect?
I'm cheerful, helpful, and loving.
Okay. Anybody else? Your views can change here because these are very subjective. All right, I said perception. Your understanding, your view of life. For one of you, it could be being helpful, being loving. All right. For somebody else, it could be different because they will achieve self-respect in a different way. So, is there anybody else who can tell me which of these qualities that would you pick up to achieve self-respect?
Ma'am, responsible, ambitious, capable, broad-minded, and obviously helpful, honesty.
Okay, so you have quite a few that goes into your self-respect. All right. Let's pick up another one. If you want to have true friendship, which qualities, which of the values here are instrumental in helping you achieve a terminal value like true friendship? Which of those from the right hand box will help you to achieve true friendship?
I'm helpful, honest, and loving.
Okay, helpful, honest, loving. Okay, all right.
Obedient, responsible.
Cheerful, obedient, responsible. Okay, as I said, it differs from person to person. Okay, that's how for somebody being, if you're helpful, if you're cheerful, if you're obedient, you're loving, you could establish true friendship with others. All right, okay. Um, if I take sense of accomplishment, meaning that you want to accomplish something in life. All right, this sense of accomplishment can be achieved from which instrumental values? Mm, okay,
Obedient, responsible.
responsible, capable. You have to be capable of
honest.
of achieving something. Without being capable, you cannot achieve something, isn't it? And you have to be broad-minded. You have to have an ambition and capable of fulfilling your ambition. Only then you will accomplish something. So you get my point. So when you discuss this type of values, terminal and instrumental values, use this compare or this, what should I say, juxtaposition of ideas to explain this type of value. Can I move on? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll talk about the third type and maybe we'll take a break. The third type of values that we are talking about is intrinsic values and extrinsic values. All right. Now, these two words are often used in economics. All right. But we can give it a turn and use it in the way we want. You know, when we're talking about personality traits and all that, values in that term. Extrinsic, intrinsic values, economy meaning money involved. We are not talking about the financial aspect. Intrinsic meaning, from the word intrinsic you will get from the, it means inside. Extrinsic, exterior, outside. Intrinsic, interior. Extrinsic, exterior. Intrinsic meaning values that are inherent in you, that are inside you, that are already there in you since birth. All right. And you find it very rewarding to pursue or use these values, all right, as much as you can. These values are strongly embedded inside you. It came to you maybe through your genes or from childhood, all right. It is there in you. It has not come from anywhere else, but it has been there. You have developed it. You have probably felt that these values are very good, and you want to encourage them. You want to develop them in you. It comes from within you, because you are able to recognize that this is a good value. It could be a bad value also, but this is inherently rewarding to pursue. I get a lot of rewards or beneficial. It is beneficial for me if I pursue these values. All right, it is intrinsic. You believe in them, and therefore you want to practice them. That is about intrinsic values. It is there inside in you. It can come with your association with nature. All right, where for example you go, let's say you're out in a park, gone for a walk, and you see a dog that is wounded, all right, or hungry, all right. And since a dog is an animal that is also part of nature, and you are also a human being who is also part of nature, it comes from your heart to do something for this dog. All right, you want to be helpful, you want to give it some food to eat, or you want to attend to its wound, find out how you can give it some relief. So that is how you connect with nature. It is inherent in you to be helpful, and being helpful is a good value. All right. Creativity, to be able to see beauty in things, to create things. Now if I see cow dung on the road, and I tell you, oh, how beautiful it is, many of you will not accept it. All right, you will say, my God, something is wrong with her. She sees some kind of beauty in cow dung that is lying on the road. But there must be some reason why I think that cow dung that I see on the road is so beautiful, or something nice about it, whereas somebody else may not see anything beautiful in it. So again, it is my perception of life that tells me that something is good or bad, and I might be able to do something creative to be able to say that this thing is beautiful. All right, let's say I take a coconut shell, all right, and I make a piece of art with it. Okay, maybe I make an ashtray with it, or I can make a lampshade with it, because it has two holes on top, and I can somehow do something with my sense of creativity, which will give me a sense of satisfaction, all right, and also make me feel very creative. The sense of satisfaction, self-satisfaction, all right, is a positive value. I can make use of it. Cow dung is not so bad after all. Okay, if you can use every part of the coconut tree, you can use the the leaves to make brooms and use them. The broom need not be always used to clean only clean surfaces. It can be also used to clean dirty surfaces. All right. So it is about how things are used and how you see it, your sense of creativity. Now I can see, maybe I can see a used CD. People don't use CDs nowadays. All right. Now if you see beauty in things, all right, then you will probably see how you can utilize this used or useless CD and convert it into a piece of art that is appreciable and that can be used, which will become a piece of art that people can appreciate. You can make a wall hanging with it. You can make probably something like a wind chime with it, all right? Or you can make a table mat with it. You can wrap wool into it and then use it as a table mat, and you will not see that as an unused or a defective CD anymore. You will be able to appreciate it as a piece of art, something that is beautiful. So creativity is also a value that is inherent in you. Everybody can't be creative, all right? This best out of waste, people can make showpieces out of onion peels. How many of us can do it? But somebody who can do it is because they can envision or see how a beautiful thing can be made out of a useless thing like this. So that is an inherent value, that's an intrinsic value. Everybody may not have this intrinsic value in them, and those who have them turn out to be great entrepreneurs. They can start off great businesses with all these things. I once happened to see a lady asking us for used milk pouches, okay? And the pouches that we had when we were way back in Pondicherry were transparent pouches, they're not white patches. But you won't believe, that lady cleaned all the milk packet, the pouches, cut them so neatly and patched them in such a way that she made a very nice, something like something like a foot mat that she made, and useful. You wouldn't have known that it is made out of useless or worthless plastic pouches in which milk was there. So that is what I'm talking about. Okay. So intrinsic values are those that are inherent in you, that are there in you, and you like to use them, utilize them, bring them to use. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about intrinsic values. And extrinsic values are those which you adopt from external sources or from outside. You find that somebody did something good, all right, and they benefited from it. You appreciate it, and then you feel that if this person could benefit from this kind of a value, maybe it will do me good also. So let me also adopt this value. Let me also develop this value. I can also benefit the same way like the other person. So that is what we mean by extrinsic values. And extrinsic values are usually from outside sources. For example, health, I don't know, sometimes I feel health is an intrinsic value. I don't know, this could lead to a debate. I could ask you what you all feel, whether health is an extrinsic or an intrinsic value. Because nowadays, see, looking after your health could be intrinsic because you want to be good healthy from inside, all right? So you could indulge in things like yoga, free hand exercises, going for long walks, exercising every day, meditating, all right? Now these could also be external sources. Maybe it is not there in you, but you found that somebody benefited by doing exercise. You saw somebody else doing it, they have benefited very well, they have very good health, all right? And therefore you think that if this person can do it, I can also do it. So if I do it, then I will also be in good health. If this person has benefited from meditation and is at peace with himself, very calm, not the kind who loses his temper very fast, then even I can achieve this if I meditate. And I got to know this from somebody else, from an external source. It was not there within me. I never saw it happening in my house or with anybody close to me. I happened to understand this or understand perception from an outside source, and therefore I adopted it. So going to a gym, all right, for good health. Now, I think health is a value which could be both intrinsic and extrinsic. It depends on how you look at it. Now, see, values that are centered on external approval or rewards are called external values. If I'm in very good health, other people will see and they will appreciate. They will say you are in very good health condition, your skin glows, you are still so mobile, all right? You don't have pains here and there, you are not sick, you are mentally sound and physically sound. And That is external approval. People can see from outside and appreciate it. They approve of it. All right. So that is how health can be an extrinsic value. Material success meaning money. Money doesn't come from within you. It comes from outside. Through your hard work, through your dedication, it comes from outside. All right. You buy a car, you buy a house, or you go on a holiday, you travel abroad. All these things are material successes which come from outside sources. All right. It is not there within you. You use one of your what should I say, intrinsic values. All right, to achieve material success. Social status also comes that way. Social status is an external value. All right. Um, it shows, your social status, it comes from your social power. It shows, it is external, it is not internal within you. It can be seen from outside. Prestige, authority, all these are extrinsic values, and they are approved, they are appreciated. All right, and you may be rewarded for it. Is that clear? So that is about intrinsic and extrinsic values. It's 3:25. I mean, I don't know what exactly the time is like. Um can we take a break? It's about 3:25 by my clock. Can we take a 5 or 10 minute break and come back? And then
Yes,
I will
ma'am.
start. I will start with some part of, see, ethics. Whatever I told, I've already said 100 times. Just for the BSc students, maybe I will just go through the slides and you will find it repetitive. But it will help them, the students who came in late, because we're going to talk about the sources of ethics. It's similar to those of values. Like the sources from where you got your values are similar to the sources from where you get your ethics. The only difference is ethics tells you what is good and bad, what is right or wrong based on your values. That is it. All right. So maybe we take a break and come back after 10 minutes. It's 3:25 by my clock. We come back at 3:35. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Take a break and come. Okay. Can we start so that I can finish with this topic today?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
You can start.
right. So we will move on to the ethics aspect of our syllabus. All right. So this is just the introduction. We kept on waiting for the BSc students to come. Now we'll have to rush. If we spend too much time on this, it won't help because we've already discussed this. So when we talk of ethics, as I said, we are talking of something called ethos. Ethos meaning the situation, the environment. All right. And in Greek, it refers to customs. When you're talking of environment, the atmosphere, the what should I say, the situation in which we are talking about the customs that we follow in our environment, the habitual use of certain food, clothes, all right, language, all this, conduct and character. So this is we are talking about. This is what the Greek word ethos means, all right, and we have taken extensions of this and applied them in different aspects. Ethics is an individual's personal beliefs regarding what is right or and wrong or good or bad. I've been saying this again and again and again and again. And right away in the beginning, I said your sense of what should I say, judgment is based on your values. When you begin to judge something based on your values, you become ethically right or ethically wrong, depending on the situation in which you are, and also supported by your perception of life, your experiences in life. You can take decisions. All right. If you think that cheating is a good value, then for you, cheating, stealing is ethically right. If somebody thinks that being hardworking, being honest is a good value, then for him that's a positive value and he's being ethically correct his way, because something in life has taught him that being honest and hardworking will fetch him good results, good outcomes. Maybe it's productive for him. So for him, that is his sense of judgment. Now his sense of judgment is based actually on the values that he has developed. Ethics involves a discipline that examines good or bad practices within the context of a moral duty. That is the example I just gave you. All right. Whatever you have, if you are a responsible person, you are organized, you are systematic, you are disciplined, it gives you a feeling that you are ethically correct, because it does not put you in any kind of trouble. Anything that can put you into trouble is bad. Your judgments could be bad and you could end up being unethical. So that is about moral aspects. Okay. So what are ethics then? Ethics is a standard or a set of standards which help in decision making, a set of rules, basically codes that tell you what you should do and what you should not do. It's a set of rules, norms, standards, guidelines that which help you to take decisions and and therefore alert you on what you should do and what you should not do. So ethics is a concept of what you ought to do and what you have not to do because rules compel it. If the rule tells you that you are not supposed to jump traffic lights when you're on the road, you should not do it. And if you do it, you are being ethically wrong. Is that clear? So a group ethics is a group of moral principles, a set of values that define or direct us to the right choice. A set of values that guide you towards making the right choice. That's about ethics. Okay. Now, how are our ethics formulated? What are the sources? It's similar to our values. Your family influence. I put up a picture there. So if you see the picture there, you will find many more sources. My God, sorry. 1 minute. Let's change them. You can see the picture that I have there. Family influence, the influence of your culture, your peer influences. Peer meaning people of the same age group, people of the same background, people with the same educational background, people from the same geographical background, all right, uh, people who are on the same platform as you are, that is peer influences, could be your friends, your siblings, all right. You could develop your sense of ethics from these people, all right. Your family influence, your profession, your employer could also be a source of um, your ethics, your ethical sense, all right. We saw in terms of values, we saw religious beliefs also, because religious beliefs um, uh, come from your conscience, all right. uh, it's internal, inherent, all right, intrinsic. uh, it tells you that you believe in some of the what should I say, some of the things that religion tells you to be right, or tells you that this is wrong, all right. And when you violate that, it hits your conscience. You know that you're doing something wrong and you should not be doing it. And whenever you're doing something wrong, it tells you that you're being ethically wrong, you should not be doing it. For example, taking bribes, all right. You know that you should not be cheating people. Religion has already taught you this, all right. Religion tells you, or your work culture tells you, that you should not be accepting bribes. But you are tempted, all right. It's a moral dilemma, and and you feel that if you can take the bribe, it will give you a better life, okay. So you want to take the bribe, but you know that this is a kind of dishonest act. You should not do it, all right. And dishonesty, religion says, is punishable, all right. You are god fearing, you fear that you'll be punished for it some way or the other, sometime or the other. So your conscience is hit, and you feel that you feel guilty that you're doing something wrong, like that. But if your sense of values are really strong, then that will help you, guide you, and tell you that don't do it, all right. It's the workplace rules say that, or your family standards say that you should not be doing this. It is not good. It can lead to problems, it can lead to trouble. So if you listen to what your heart says and follow your values, then you can overcome this conscience, this problem with your conscience, and say, okay, I'm not going to do it, I will not accept a bribe, all right. Society at large is a very good teacher, educator, who helps you realize your sense of ethics, all right. The law of a country is very, very important in setting up ethical standards, all right. Without laws in a country, there'll be total chaos, because everybody will want to do whatever they want, and there'll be chaos. Everybody will, people might end up killing each other, because everybody will think what I'm doing is right. Just think of this: if everybody thinks that there should not be traffic lights on the road, can you imagine what chaos will be there? How many people will die? What the consequences will be? So the law of the country has said that no, you have to follow. If you're out on the road and living in society, there are certain rules that have been laid out for you, certain norms that have to be followed when you're on the road, and you have to follow it. If you violate these rules, you'll be punished for it, all right. There are many laws which have been put up in the Constitution of India, all right. Amendments are made, rules are there, and they are to be followed by all of us, all right. They are there for our benefit. And once you start violating these laws, it will lead to chaos and confusion, all right. Situational factors have been going on telling, sometimes situation can teach you so many things, all right. So different, when you're put in different situations, you suppose you travel in a bus without paying for the fare, all right. Just imagine if the conductor in the bus catches you in front of everybody, all right. And it goes to a very to a stage where it becomes a police case, all right. And you're put behind bars. What happens then? It's a learning for lifelong. You will remember that you will never ever travel in a bus without paying for the ticket, because you are scared. Your conscience says that I did this once, I should not have done it, all right. I was punished for it. If I do it again, I'll be punished, and this time the punishment will be even more severe. So I will not do something like that. So that is what you learn. Ethics. Sometimes situational factors are also helpful in defining ethical norms. Okay. Religion, I already told you about it, so I'm not going to talk to you about it. Now, regions in a country, if you see the picture that I put there on the top right corner, regions of country. Different regions in a country follow different norms. All right. And it is expected that even an outsider, the people who live in that region have to follow it. And it is expected that any outsider who enters that region should also follow that rule. Is that clear? So that is how our ethics, our rules, our ethical norms are framed. Those are our sources. Okay. Culture. I talked about this much when I talked about values. I told you that the culture of a nation, of a society, helps you to set certain values, certain rules, okay, certain standard beliefs and practices which all human beings have to follow throughout the ages. Sometimes they are changed for the betterment of society, all right, but they are there. And if people don't follow these rules, they're being unethical. For example, you have a neighbor who plays very loud music and parties throughout the night. Now, this could cause disturbance to the other residents in the locality. All right. Now, I have a neighbor who stays on the behind our house. They have a big 3-storied house. Nobody stays on the first floor and second floor. The owner's son stays alone, but he has 2 dogs, and I don't know what the hell he does with these 2 dogs, because forever they are wailing or barking. All right. And we have an HDFC bank by the side in the corner plot. So one day when I went to the bank, the bank manager called me and he said that, do you live beside our bank? I said, no, I live 2 houses away from the bank. Why? What's the problem? He said, no, I thought, you have a dog, and the dog is so disturbing. Throughout the day, it keeps wailing, howling, or barking, and it's very, very disturbing. We cannot work in the bank. If people in the bank cannot work, where doors and windows are closed and ACs are running, think of common people like us. I think the man doesn't feed them well, or he goes out of station. He leaves them in the back veranda, and I have noticed, when I go up to walk on the terrace, I see the pipes, which come out from his bathroom and are damaged. The top covers are off, and rats keep going in and out of it, and they run around in the veranda trying to get into the house. And these 2 dogs are so terrified by these, mongoose. Even there's a big, huge mongoose. I think there must be snakes also. Where there's a mongoose, there will be a snake. So these dogs must be terrified and howling and barking till late night, at 1 at 2 in the night. And I think they're hungry also. So you cannot do this. You have to keep in mind that there are other people who live in society who could be having problems with, if you are trying to be so exclusive or different, and therefore you have to abide by certain rules. You keep a caretaker who will look after the dog, feed the dog regularly, come and give them water and tend to them, rather than leaving them to suffer like this. That's not done. Is that clear? You have neighbors who cannot get up at 6 o'clock in the morning when the garbage man comes with that, van, because they sleep late night or they cannot get up in the morning. And smartly, what they'll do is, once you switch off all the lights in your house, they will take their garbage and come and leave it in front of your gate. When you wake up in the morning, you'll see that the dogs have strewn everything here and there, and you have to clean it. Is that done? This is not permissible. It is not acceptable. So if you live in society, there is a certain culture that everybody will have to develop or enjoy, experience, and it has to be uniform for everybody. The values, the rules of that locality, of that society, needs to be followed by everybody. The standard belief that the corporation van will come and you dump all your garbage into that. You are not supposed to dump it in front of somebody else's house who has cleaned his surrounding. That is unfair. That is unethical. All right. Now, cultural experiences can also refer to festivals that you share, the food that you eat, the clothing that you wear. Now, you have people who are coming down, let's say from the US, all right, and the kind of clothes that they wear here. Now, it doesn't match with the culture in India or in Kolkata. Oh, out there where you're in the US, it's okay. You match your way of dressing, your way of eating, your way of interacting with people with in that style when you are there. But you have to behave like a Roman when you're in Rome. So you cannot bring in those cultures that will not be easily acceptable here. Cross cultural experiences are good, but not all of them are not good. Okay, and these experiences have
Ma'am, isn't culture
evolved.
subject to changes?
Yes, culture is subject to changes because we are all evolving, we are all progressing. Culture will change, it is changing. Think of
Ma'am, then no culture is good or bad, right? Then no culture is inherently good or bad. Everything is
yeah,
subjective.
it's all subjective. Yes, it is very subjective and also subject to acceptance.
Yes. And then
It
the
is
values that are based on cultural experiences, that those are also subjective.
values that are
Subject to
based
the
on.
subject to social values that are based on cultures and everything. I mean values that are based on cultures and all. It's all subjective, right? Then
Absolutely, that is why I said no. This entire paper
so
is
it's a
for
function of social acceptance. So something
exactly.
that is ethical today will be unethical tomorrow. Something that was ethical yesterday is unethical today.
Today, and that is why you have amendments to all the norms, rules that are being made. Laws, the law of a country starts amending things, they start making rules. That is why it
So,
keeps.
ma'am, then no value can be, I mean, trusted blindly, right? So everything should be questioned. So we
It
should
is
not live
questioned.
by
It is
values.
it is
So
questioned, and that is why when you start bringing amendments, no, the amendment doesn't come so easily. People question. You see, when you had MTV, that was. Do you have MTV, FTV anymore in India? Are they broadcast in India through the cable channels? I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't have cable.
Okay, at one time you had Fashion TV and you had MTV, which was banned in India when what was that lady's name? She was a broadcast minister, Sushma Swaraj. All right,
Wow, wow.
she said it is what should I say, diluting or the Indian culture. It is affecting the Indian culture. It should not be allowed. Now, see, if you see MTV that way, it's very subjective. MTV might have some good things to show. FTV also might have some. FTV was fashion TV, all right. Now, if you're going to look at fashion TV this way, that always naked or half-dressed models are being shown, that is, and you see it that way, and therefore you say that I'm going to ban FTV. It is harming Indian culture. And you had in Mumbai where they said beef cannot be eaten. All right. Now, what do you do here? It is a law that decides, the law of that region decides that no, you can't have it, so you can't have it. Now, if you want to have beef, you have to leave Mumbai and go out. You have to leave Maharashtra and go out. If you want to watch MTV and FTV, it will not be shown in India. Go outside where they're teaching and shit. Is that possible? No, you have to be broad-minded, and you have to see that what actually is MTV showing or what is FTV showing. How can it be customized for an Indian audience? So you see, this is what this entire thing is very subjective, which is why I keep using the word perception. Perception. It's about understanding, your understanding. If the broadcast minister saw it one way, I don't know whether she discussed it with 10 other people and then decided to ban it. And then you didn't want what is that, cable TV coming into India, but cable TV is now well established in India. You can't block Netflix from coming just because they are showing English movies, and they might have adult movies or whatever it is, and oh, Indians are also good, they don't have any adult movies, they don't show any kind of negativity in their movies. Is that true? You've drawn a balance somewhere. The what is that, these movies which are censored, the censor board takes a decision on what kind of movies can be shown, and if they decide that this content cannot be shown for audiences below 18 years of age. They make a clear demarcation. All right, the laws are there. The laws of a country, the laws of the censor board are there. All right, so it has to be seen in a different angle. What can be done? The culture, what the culture that is good in the US, in UK, or in anywhere in any other part of the world may not be the same here. All right. The Chinese people, let me talk about food. They probably, like eating things like or like frogs' legs, or they like to eat cockroaches. When the Beijing Olympics were held, there was a variety of food. I don't know at that time if you saw the pictures that came out. They looked so tempting, all that food. But left to us Indians, everybody was making faces because they said, "My God, look at those scorpions! They're all turned." Oh, I remember I found one which I found really unacceptable. Was where they had a skinned snake hanging. Okay, and that's a delicacy, just like frogs' legs. I couldn't imagine how somebody would eat a snake. I found it so disgusting. And again, on the other hand, see, that was my perception that it is disgusting, not nice. And then my view changed that, okay, maybe I don't eat in their culture, they eat it, it's good for them, they like it. The region where they live, it flourishes, so they can eat that then. And if I go there any day, I might try it out. If I like it, I eat. If I don't like it, I won't eat, but I won't make faces. And then I got to hear from one of our family friend's son when he joined the Air Forces, okay, and he was on training. So this boy, when he came to visit us in Kolkata after his training was over, I asked him, "What would you like to have for lunch? What shall I make?" Considering the fact that it's the army, they are under strict vigilance and rules and all that, maybe he would like to eat something now that he's on leave. He said, those of you who are Bengalis here will understand. He said, "I just want dal and aloo bhaja. Dal bhat, aloo bhaja." So I was a little taken back. I said, "You're coming all the way here, and you want to eat only dal bhat, aloo bhaja. What's the problem?" He said, "Don't give me any kind of meat. Don't give me fish. I don't want to eat all that." So I said, "Why?" He said, "There's nothing like eating plain dal and aloo bhaja." And then as we were talking, he said that when they're on training, sometimes they are put under a situation where simulated situations, assuming that it's army time. So if somebody is injured, what will they do? And they are not going to stay in houses, and whatever food they're carrying on their back is there, but even if that stock is over, what will they do? He said, "We caught live snakes and we ate them." He said, "We cannot cook them because if there is a fire, the enemy will see us." So I said, "You really had, live snakes?" He said, "Yes, we just peeled them and we cut the head off and then we ate it like that." So can you imagine if people in India can eat it depending on the situation in which they are, then what is wrong with the Chinese or the Japanese or anybody else in the world eating that? I'm told that my father-in-law never liked to eat noodles. He said it reminded him of earthworms. Can you imagine? So he wouldn't eat noodles. So that's why I said you will. I had my father's sister who traveled with her family once to Rameshwaram and Kanyakumari, and we were we were born and brought up in Pondicherry. So they came to stay with us, and they kept telling my mother, "Mommy, give us some good food to eat. Give us some good food to eat." So my mother said, "Good food to eat? Didn't you eat anything on the way or when you were traveling?" They said, "No, no, Tetul jol, that's tamarind water. Everything is all Tetul jol." So my mother said, "Yeah, if you go down south, you'll have sambar, you'll have rasam, whatever it is, everything. And the curd is also sour. So it's all sour food. And the food is sour because it helps to maintain your body temperature in extreme summer conditions, heat, hot conditions. It keeps the body cool. And that is why people in that area, it's a culture. They eat that kind of food." They said, "No, we had rice with puris and puris with rice because we couldn't eat anything else." Can you imagine? People go to Kerala, all right? God's own country. Kerala has this brown rice. Bengalis who go there, I don't know about the others, I've not talked to many of them. The Bengalis, I've heard many of them saying that rice is inedible. But people in that state, in that region, are surviving on that. That is their staple diet. That is the rice that they eat. It is unique to Kerala. You have bananas which are, I don't know if you've seen them, they're called Nendram Params. You know, the bananas are reddish brown in color from the outside, and inside they are also kind of lightly brownish. All right. And those bananas are not consumed like the way we have our own, the yellow bananas or the the Singapore bananas that we eat. They are usually cut, sliced, thick slices, and they are fried in ghee and coated with a little bit of sugar and eaten. It's a delicacy there. And they use coconut oil. People when they go from here to visit Kerala, they'll say, I don't know how people survive with coconut oil. And when people from there come here, say, I don't know how Bengalis survive in mustard oil. So it's all a matter of acceptance. If nothing is good, nothing is bad. Every region has its own set of beliefs. All right. And it is expected that we follow those. Is that clear? Have I answered your question to some extent? Did I make sense? No? Are you there on the other side, or am I just talking to myself? Is anybody there on the other side, or have all of you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
None of you are responding, so I can't understand whether you are there or not. Right? Anybody else who has had this kind of a cultural attack when you've gone somewhere? People who've I don't know about Northeast. Has anybody visited the Northeast and had any experiences there? I remember one small episode where somebody gifted us, bamboo pickle. And since I'm very fond of pickle, I jumped at the bottle, I opened it, and the minute I put it into my mouth, I almost puked. But it's such a delicacy in the Northeast. How many of you have had any kind of cultural shocks like this, be it clothes or food or language, anything like that? Any experiences anybody has had? So if any of you have gone on a holiday abroad, can you share your experiences with us? No? None of you travel anywhere? You don't go out on a holiday anywhere? I have personally had experiences with school friends who would say they are pure vegetarians. They don't eat eggs. They don't eat meat. They don't eat fish. All right, and then gradually, this question of change that you said, culture changes. This friend of mine was a Brahmin from Bangalore, from Karnataka, and they wouldn't eat. Then gradually things changed. All right, she told me that no, eggs are a good source of protein. So I have started eating eggs, and egg is vegetarian. I said, okay, egg is vegetarian, fine, I accept what you're saying. My point is, if you like to eat something and it suits you, eat it. If it doesn't go in, doesn't no conflict with your mind, eat it. All right. And then she started having meat. I asked her, well, what is happening? You said you're a vegetarian, you're a Brahmin, you don't eat. She said, no, actually, we don't cook at home, but we eat outside. So I said, what's stopping you from cooking at home? She said, no, can't do it. My grandmother is there, and non-veg not allowed. Ultimately, she got married and she shifted to the US. Today, she's eating everything from burgers to KFC to everything there. So that is what I said. Some things change, and you don't have to feel guilty about it, as long as you know that you're not causing harm to yourself or to anybody else. and you like what you're doing. You wear some clothes. If you wear clothes that suit you and you're comfortable, which you can carry off well, wear them. But don't wear a clothing because somebody else has worn it and it looks good on them. It might not look good on you, although it is the culture. So you see, that is what I've been talking about so long. Culture values help to determine the values an individual upholds and how it influences the culture of a group in which he exists. If you have a group of friends, you see, when I was in school again, we had skirts and a shirt, all right? The Muslim girls would not wear skirts or shirts, okay? But after a few days, after they join, initially they would come like this, and then the school had its own rules that all of them have to be the same. It's not that, based on religion you're going to have some differences. So they insisted that if it is possible and your religion allows it, please encourage your daughters. We were in a girls school, okay? They said the parents were told that please encourage your children also to wear skirts like all other children, all right? Don't make them different from the others. Equality. So if your ward does not want to wear, has any problems, then it's okay. Send us a note and we will accept it. All right. So the second point that we missed out was that was a question that you all had asked. Cultural experiences have evolved, have changed over time, thanks to changing economic and social arrangements in human history. All right. Change is good. Change is good, and if you can move with the times, good for you. So cultural experiences can keep changing, and it is up to you to decide whether it suits you and you can accept it accordingly. Is that clear? Any questions here? Anything that you want to discuss? We talked about the legal system, which means the law of a country. All right. Laws help to guide human behavior. They tell you that you should do this, you should not do this. If you don't follow these rules, you will be punished. So, and the laws of a country keep changing as new evils keep emerging. They have to change, all right? And society expects us to follow these rules, and it is presumed that following these rules leads to ethical behavior, good ethical behavior. Because if you violate rules, you are being unethical, and that affects your personality, your behavior, and how people look at you. All right. So, shall I stop here for today? Any questions? Any doubts?
No question, ma'am.
Okay. A little bit of interaction from your side would have made the class interesting today. Any other questions? Anything that you want to share, or I will stop here for today? And I will continue with the next topic, branches of ethics, in the next class. Now, these branches of ethics that I'll be talking about are vast, but for you it is not very important because you are engineering students. But I had to touch upon this topic because later, when you're working, when you're in a professional life, if you come across any kind of conflicts, any kind of problems, you should be able to identify under which branch of ethics it goes and what kind of steps you will take to overcome the problems that you are facing. Exactly, that is why. So when I talk to you about the branches, the theories of ethics, they're just going to be very brief. I'm just going to touch on the definitions for you to understand what they are. All right, there could be one question on that, on the branches of ethics, or a short note, but I am not going to go into details. I'm going to take up the 4 branches and just read out the definition and tell you what they are. That is it. So I will do that in the next class. I'll stop here for today. All right. Have all of you put up your
Okay, ma'am.
names? Any other messages that have come? No. Okay. So I'll stop here for today. I have a few more names to take down. If the BSc students have any queries, you can stay back. The others can leave. Thank you for being here so long with me. I will continue with the class. Next class is on today's on 16th. All right. 16th is not a holiday, no? You don't have any holiday on 16th. I hope you don't have.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then we will meet at 2:30 on 16th. Okay? 16th, yeah. See you then.
Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you for being there. You can leave. We'll catch
Thank
up
you,
in the
ma'am.
next class. Thank
Okay, ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.